Tomorrow morning, the Senate will be conducting a committee of the whole hearing. And this is where, this is to find out where the 82 billion pesos that's been set aside for vaccine procurement was spent. So, Senator Lacson, what do you have right now? Do we have any idea at least how much of the 82 billion was spent?
First, Karen, just to give a brief background. Some senators, including myself, have requested the Senate President to convene the Senate into a committee of the whole.
Okay.
And ask, what triggered this was the statement of DBM that they would need another 25 billion pesos in addition to the 82.5 billion already appropriated, already set aside for the vaccination program. Now, without any clear accounting of the 82.5 billion, because right now, what we have are all Sinovac vaccines, and the Pfizer that arrived, the 2.2 million doses of Pfizer, came from the COVAX facility or from the United States. This was the part of the contribution of the United States to the COVAX facility under the WHO that would be distributed to different countries, low income and middle income. And fortunately for us, dumating na yung 2.2 million doses ng Pfizer. AstraZeneca, galing din ito sa COVAX facility. Yung Sinovac, meron pa ritong, I think, 100,000 doses donated by the Chinese government. So, ano ba yung nabibili natin so far? Baka puro Sinovac pa lamang because, earlier on, even the DOH and Malacanang issued the statement that they already booked 25 million doses ng Sinovac. But I have yet to hear any other brand purchased by the national government. So kung merong 82.5 billion pesos for Sinovac, which is priced at, sabihin na natin, 670 pesos. Ang initial na submission ng DOH, I think this was last October 2020, when the Committee on Finance of the Senate asked for budgeting purposes for an indicative price. Ang sinabit nila is 3,629 pesos. Na we were all surprised because almost simultaneously we read yung matrix na pinalabas ng Thai government, di ba? Na ang presyo pala ng Sinovac nasa 683 lang or $5 for that matter. So we questioned that. I was the one even who questioned that, and the answer was no, it was only an indicative price. But if you consider the difference between 3,629 or 1,000 plus, and 670, then 1,800 for that matter. So ang laki ng, sabihin na nating quote-unquote overpriced, kung natuloy yun. So now, kung 25 million doses, pasok na doon sa 82.5. So why ask for another 25 billion?
Yes.
That we want to clarify, because
do they actually declare? I know, diba, Senator Lacson? Well, number one, under the COVAX facility, Secretary Galvez said the Philippines will receive up to 40 million doses.
44 million doses.
So that means vaccinating 22 million Filipinos under COVAX.
Correct.
But they did say that we will be paying, is it 15% of the cost? May ganun yun.
No, Karen. Pag COVAX facility, donated yan, free yan. Yung the COVAX facility was created by some rich countries like France, Germany. Tapos yung mga talagang super rich countries, sila yung maglalagay ng pondo. I think they pledged $2 billion under the COVAX facility to procure vaccines for donation to low-income and middle-income countries, the Philippines included. So walang bayad yung pagka sinabi natin galing sa COVAX facility, walang bayad dyan. Ang cost lang siguro dyan, Karen, yung administrative cost like yung syringes.
No, but I remember it was a Senate hearing that they told the Senate that they had to pay a certain amount, a small, noong una completely free, tapos nung pangalawa daw, Senator, may maliit na amount na that they were required to pay. I just can't remember if it's
5%.
Oh, yun, okay.
5%.
Yes. And would that fall under the 82 billion? Would that would fall under that?
If I remember it correctly, parang nakaseparate yung admin cost. Parang binigyan siya ng, I don't know, I'm not sure, but we have to find out tomorrow. Ano ba talaga? We want a full accounting of the 82.5. Second question, how much of the 82.5 came from borrowings?
Yes.
Kasi we keep borrowing using the vaccination program as the justification to borrow. So we want to find out. That's why we need a full accounting for the Filipino people to know magkano na ba doon sa 82.5 set aside for the vaccines and whatever amount is set aside for admin costs, logistics and all. Magkano na nagastos? And ano na ba yung mga nabili nating brands? Aside from Sinovac, meron bang ibang brands? Remember yung Moderna na parating on, I think, na set back ulit yung date from June 21 to June 25. Pero ito, initiative to ng private sector and local government units. 7 million doses, ito yung for the private sector, yung mga business companies, private companies. And 13 million doses, ito yung procured ng local government units. So that's another 20 million doses na walang cost sa national government. So that's another 10 million Filipinos to be vaccinated for free. Because hindi naman national government, not really free, in the strict sense. But, hindi kasama sa 82.5. So pag pinagsama-sama mo yung COVAX, 44 million, assuming that it's still 44 million, so 22 million Filipinos plus another 10 million Filipinos, and then yung sa Sinovac na 25 million, that's 12.5 million Filipinos. Pag pinagsama-sama, we need a full accounting of the 82.5 kung saan papasok, saan gagamitin yon. And that's the essence of the committee of the whole hearing called by Senate President Soto, because our people, it's actually kami lang na nag-represent to request him to call for a committee of the whole hearing. But actually, ang nag-i-initiate din yung people like you, yung friends, acquaintances, those who would write to us, and those who would like to find out kung saan pupunta yung taxes nila or saan pupunta yung inutang na naka-charge actually sa kanila rin, yung future generation of Filipinos.
Tanong ko lang, Senator, itong 25 billion na hinihingi ng DBM, originally ba, nakalagay po ba yun sa Bayanihan 3? Was that inside Bayanihan 3?
Wala. I think Bayanihan 2, 82.5, kaya sabi nila kulang, and they need another 25 billion. And I think that triggered the call
I
for
think in Bayanihan 2, you have 10 billion there for vaccines.
Yeah, I'm not sure anymore kung nasa GAA ito ng 2021 or under Bayanihan 2. But yung 10, I think the 10 billion is under the 2021 GAA.
Okay.
Tapos yung sa Bayanihan 2 yung the remaining amount, all in all 82.5 plus another amount set aside for admin and logistics cost.
So moving on from that 25 billion pesos that they're requesting, if the 82 billion has not yet been spent or obligated or contracted to a company for vaccines, do you believe that, what's the sentiment? Will you most likely agree to the 25 billion needed?
It depends on their presentation. If the 82.5 billion has already been obligated, and we see that we still lack vaccines to accomplish the herd immunity, then we might give it to them. But we need a full accounting of the 82.5 billion first, as you said, not just purchased, but obligated or contracted. Kung malinaw na nakalabas na sa treasury yung 82.5 on account of contracts already signed or perfected, and they still need additional amount, well, of course, mandate naman ng Kongreso or ng Senado na ibigay yung appropriations needed to procure more vaccines. Pero kung hindi lang may explain yung 82.5, I don't see any reason or justification for the Senate or the Congress to appropriate an additional 25 billion.
Okay. Where should we go with the COVID passport? Do we need that, Senator?
Yes. And right now, even as we speak, ang sabi nga nila, pinaplano pa lamang nila kung paano mag-issue ng vaccination passport or vaccine passport. Well, other countries have already issued their vaccine passports. Ano? And kaya ang gulo-gulo ng protocol natin do sa mga OFWs na dumarating who have already been vaccinated abroad, ang sasabihin pagdating dito, i-quarantine mo ng 10 days, iso-swab test. So parang hindi tayo in sync with the rest of the other countries. Ano? So the tourism sector will suffer. Yung investment natin will suffer. Kasi you can just imagine if a potential investor who would like to come here and see for himself yung kanyang paglalagay ng investment at maririnig niya, meron na siyang vaccination sa country niya. Pagdating dito, maririnig niya na isuswab test.
Correct.
And then papadala sa
quarantine ulit.
Quarantine facility na hindi naman niya controlled, ano? Hindi niya choice yung hotel. Ikaw ba pupunta pa? Hindi na siguro. So these are the things that we need to find out from them. In fact, during a dinner meeting,
what is your opinion? Halimbawa, fully vaccinated na ang Filipino resident, no? Pwedeng OFW or let's say balikbayan lang na fully vaccinated na may passport. Pagdating sa Pilipinas, do you still believe dapat i-quarantine pa yon or test na lang at pauwiin na?
Well, at the very least, at most siguro swab test and then pauwi na.
Okay.
And then require him to just stay, and just require him to stay at home
for 5 days
say,
or
7
days
or 10 days. Wag naman yung dadali mo sa hotel. Kaya nga umuwi yun, may emergency yun o kaya may talagang mahigpit na pangangailangan. Kung bakit, imagine OFW, ba't ka uuwi? Marami doon talaga may mga emergency kaya uuwi. And then, pagdating dito, i-quarantine mo ng 10 days. Ubos na yung oras niya ng leave, yung bakasyon niya hiningi doon sa kanyang employer. So sino pa yung uuwi? So I don't think that makes sense. Ano? And si Governor Gwen Garcia of Cebu, nilabanan niya ito. And most of the senators are, in support of the position of the Cebu provincial government.
Dole also asked for that.
Kaya nga, marami kasi mga, during the dinner meeting that we had with, of course, si Secretary Galvez was not able to make it because he was at the airport. Sinasalubong niya yung 2.2 million doses ng Pfizer at yung 1 million doses ng Sinovac. So he was not able to make it. But si Mayor Magalong and Secretary Vince Dizon were there. And we had a good dialogue and, freewheeling discussion. And they also brought to our attention the many issues, yung mga dynamics na nangyayari doon sa IATF because being a collegial body, merong group discussion. And ang advice ka ni Senate President sa kanila, if you feel that you are correct, you are right, and they are wrong, you might as well defy them because, it's the lives of the Filipino people that are at stake pagdating dito sa mga protocols, vaccination program, and all. And, we're fortunate to have local government units, young leaders like Francis Zamora. Ang sabi sabi ni Secretary Dizon, San Juan could be the first city in the country to achieve yung herd immunity. Kasi abante sila. Lino Cayetano of Taguig City, nare-reach na sa mga 600.
And Lino Cayetano is even vaccinating more. I think that the target.
Mga 6,800 yata a day. And then, of course, Mayor Isko, and Mayor Vico Soto, even Congresswoman Camille Villar. Makati. Na nagbibigay ng incentive, yung nagpaparaffle. So, ito yung mga progressive thinking young leaders that, that are a blessing to the Filipino people na hindi sumusunod sa mga old traditional, alam mo Karen, yung mga lumang utak na hindi na nag-improve over the years, na ang ini-impose lagi yung kung ano lang yung gusto nila. And they're not on the ground. The local government leaders or officials are the ones on the ground. For example, Karen, yung indigents, sabi kasi ng presidente, unahin na natin yung mga So, yung mga downtrodden. But ang gagamiting reference, yung SAP. Alam mo yung SAP, Karen? Yung amelioration program?
Yeah.
2015 yun eh. So maraming incidents sa local government units na yung mga walang trabaho noong 2015 na nakasama do sa 4Ps. Ngayon konkreto na raw yung bahay. May trabaho na, tapos sila pa yung unahin mo sa vaccination. Yes.
Okay.
Yung iba naman na nakakariwasa noon, so wala na sa listahan, ngayon bigla na walang trabaho. Look, Karen, the latest figures that we have, yung ating unemployment sa bansa as of April, pumalo na tayo sa 4.14 million Filipinos. Ang underemployed nasa 7.45 million Filipinos. Ganyang kasama yung situation. Kaya nga, dapat yung kung sino nasa ground, bigyan ng konting flexibility. But in the IATF, during the discussions, ito yung malimit ang banggaan nila. And we're glad that Secretary Vince Dizon is there, Secretary Galvez is there, Mayor Magalong is there.
Ano yung gusto mo, sir? Sinabi mo kasi yan that people on the ground should be given leeway to make their own decisions as they see fit. That's an interview you did, I think, over the weekend, and I read that article. But what kind of leeway, sir, ang nakikita mo na dapat hayaan in the vaccination?
Yung regulations dapat hindi masyadong restrictive. Medyo open-ended ng konti para magkaroon ng flexibility yung mga tao sa ground.
So kung A4, basta sinong A4 gusto, pwede na. May ranking pa yun, ha?
Ito, it's good that you remind me,
Yeah.
Ang sabi nila, ito pa yung ibang experience. Merong category pa yung halimbawa A4, meron pang A41, A42,
may ganun
A43.
pa yun, sir. I have the list.
So pagka halimbawang 40 to 59 years old, meron darating na 39 and a half years old, ayaw tanggapin. So ang diskarte ng mga mayor, nandiyan ka na, bakunahan na yan. If they will follow the protocols noong Department of Health, palalayasin pa nila yung 39 years and 6 months old. That doesn't make sense. Kaya mabuti na rin, yun nga, sabi ko nga kanina, mabuti may mga local government officials tayo na iba yung takbo na ng isip. Paalisin mo pa ba yung, sabihin na natin walang 40, 39 years, 11 months, and 29 days old.
Tama ka, Senator, basta A4 pero nandun siya sa medyo ilalim sa listahan. Pero A4, ang haba.
That's the flexibility that I'm talking about, Karen. So, bigyan ng leeway yung nasa ground because they know. Kasi alam mo, ang isang hinaing nila, si Secretary Duque has a pool of consultants. Wala naman ito doon sa structure. Yung mga consultants naman, kaharap lang ng computer. Hindi naman nila alam yung nangyayari sa ground. So, minsan, masyadong restrictive yung pag-iisip ni Secretary Duque, contrary to the more dynamic members of the IATF. Ang sistema kasi, and I won't blame Secretary Galvez for this, but he is too patient. Parang yung kanyang training sa PMA, hanggang ngayon dala niya pa. Obey first before you complain. Yan ang aming natutunan na applicable lang yan habang sundalo ka. Pag-retire ka na, iba na dapat yung mindset mo.
Okay. No, quickly lang. We're gonna go to a quick break before I ask you about something else. Is the fact that may Sinovac pa sa inventory, pero hindi pa ito ubos. What does that say of our rollout?
Well, yung rollout, because of the so many restrictive protocols at saka regulations, kaya nga medyo nadidelay yung actual implementation. Yung rollout, I don't see any problem at all because mabilis naman yung rollout eh. Ang masama pa ka rin, yung spoilage,
Yeah.
Kasi 113,000 yata yung, di ba, we are hearing figures na nasayang yung bakuna. Kumbaga ginto itong bakuna, pagkatapos papabayaan mo because of the cold chain, mishandled cold chain facility, nasayang lang. Ito yung mga issues na dapat pagtuunan ng pansin nang sa ganon, ma-accelerate natin. Isa pang issue ka rin, yung queuing time.
Yes.
It's a good thing that yung private sector took the initiative of, marong live simulation na ginawa sila. and nakat nila in half yung time para mag-undergo na vaccination. Why? Because under the old protocol or the present protocol that they're following, kukunan ka pa ng blood pressure. Kaya nga nandun, may hypertension ka naka-indicate na dun kukunan ng blood pressure. Imagine the wasted time, na nakapila ka pagdating doon, papalitan pa yung and also these are things that should be reviewed by the IATF.
Quickly, do you believe we will achieve herd immunity by the end of the year? Because nung una, that was Secretary Galvez's goal. And then nung nag-delay, he said possibly next year. And then now with more vaccines coming in, he believes when they did the math that we can inoculate 500,000 people a day. And some have said it's not just a question of supply, but the method nga on the ground. So I'm curious, do you believe we can we will reach herd immunity by the end of the year?
Well, we can certainly hope that we can reach herd immunity by year end. Not one will will think otherwise or hope otherwise. Let's just hope, But to be pessimistic about it, ang importante pa, let's improve the trust of our people on the vaccines kasi meron pa ring mga misgivings and I think the government, the national government and the local government units should exert extra effort to convince our people to have themselves vaccinated.
Okay.
Because that's the best way out. Our best way out of the of this pandemic is vaccination.